Morning, Year 10. We started to look a little bit in Lesson 3 at competition between different species and competition within a species. And some of you made notes of that in your books. And because of this competition, animals become extremely well adapted. And you will have looked at Key Stage 3 sometime in Year 7, 8 or 9. You will have looked at how animals are well adapted to where they live. So today we're going to look at animal adaptations and some of them that are common, and then we're going to look at plant adaptations next lesson. So in this example here, the classic polar bear example, what you've got is if you look at it, you've got, here we have really small ears and quite a short nose. His legs for his size aren't massively long, and overall this sort of body shape where he's got thick fur, layers of fat, he's white for camouflage. A lot of adaptations are to do with the colour of the animal, the size of their features, and then things like the thickness of the fur or the fat underneath. And obviously these are all adaptations about living in the cold. So what does he need in the cold? He needs to stay warm because he's a warm-blooded mammal. Therefore, having thick fur, having loads of fat, and having small features means he has a small surface area, so he doesn't lose much heat to the environment. And I said he, but it could be a she. Can't actually tell from here. Virtually exactly the same. And when we look at animals that live in the Arctic, well, they're white mostly. They are, again, quite a rounded shape, which means they have a small surface area, like a ball. The opposite would be long, thin shapes. That would be a really bad shape to be if you lived in the Arctic, because then you'd lose loads of heat. So the best possible shape to be for the smallest surface area would be round. And if you think about your own pets, if you've got any, or animals you know, for example, what do cats do in winter or when it's cold? They curl in a ball, and that keeps them warm. What do cats do when it's sunny? They stretch right out and they have the long thin shape. So actually a cat curled up would be here, and a cat stretching out would be here. And therefore they can decide whether to lose a little bit of heat or a lot of heat by their surface area. Now, this is exactly the same animal as we've just seen. The first one, the white little rounded one, was an Arctic hare, and this is just a typical normal European hare. We have these living in Britain. Look at the differences here. We've got, let's see if I can choose a better colour to draw with. You've got long thin legs and much longer, thinner ears, and the whole body shape is much longer and thinner because they haven't got the same problems with losing heat. So these have a larger surface area because they're not having to keep so much heat in because they don't live in such a cold environment. This is how they're adapted to where they live. Now, while we're on this one, extremely good, well, it looks like I've drawn glasses on him by mistake, but really good eyesight, really good hearing, and that's because this animal is prey. This is going to be hunted and eaten by other animals. Therefore, having really good senses to be able to detect the prey is absolutely essential, otherwise it wouldn't survive. So those are, again, are really good adaptations. Now, there's not much point in me carrying on with millions of slides of every single animal in the world, because it doesn't matter what animal you choose, if you look at its colour, there's going to be some type of camouflage, or to help it suit, there's going to be an adaptation in its colour usually to do with its environment. And then the shape of the animal, as we said already, that surface area, If they live in a really hot place, they'll have a large surface area to help them lose heat. If they live in a cold place, they'll have a small surface area, be more rounded to help them keep heat in. The senses of an animal, the eyes, the smell, the hearing. In cases of some animals like moles, their sensitivity in their paws, they can feel vibrations in the soil to find earthworms and other grubs to eat. So the senses of different animals are well adapted again to where they live. And then when you look at things like the teeth of the animal, the feet, the shape of the feet, claws, talons, all sorts of adaptations, some to do with escaping from predators, others to do with, if you're a predator, to do with catching your prey and bringing them down quickly. So in the case of tigers and lions, the strong claws, massive teeth, etc. So what I thought it would be easier to do rather than explain every animal in the world. So what I thought I'd do was hold some interviews with real animals, and obviously the animals that in my house can talk. So here you go.
Hello, buddy. Do you mind if we just chat for a few minutes? I need to teach my year 10s about adaptation. Oh, that's really nice of you. How are you well adapted? Could you just go through for us? Well, I've got a very, very wet nose and a very good sense of smell and hearing. And my eyes, as you can see, are pointing forwards so I can see my prey. Oh, are you adapted in any other ways? Could you just show... Oh, that's very nice to shake hands, but can you just show us your teeth? I don't want to. Oh, come on, show us your teeth. Come on, let's have a look at your teeth. No. Teeth. Show us. Oh, big canine predator. Why do you have them? Oh, I need them to tear meat apart. Oh, do you eat a lot of meat? No, but I've got them just in case. Are you getting a bit camera shy and trying to dodge the camera? Yes, okay, sorry. Thank you for talking to us though. It's been not a problem. Goodbye. Oh, goodbye, buddy. Hamilton, how are you well adapted?
I've got little ears and a little squiggly nose.
No, I didn't say what do you look like. How are you well adapted?
Well, I've got spines, and the spines mean that if anybody tries to eat me, it pokes them in the nose.
Ah, so they're for protection, are they?
Yes.
And what about your wiggly nose? It seems to be wiggling and sniffing the whole time.
Well,
I haven't got very good eyesight, and I usually go out and hunt at night. So my nose is how I mostly hunt and find my little prey. Oh, what do you eat?
I eat worms and insects and lots of little shrubs and things as well.
Okay, could you just quickly show us how you roll up into a ball when a predator attacks?
No, not at the moment.
Good rolling into a ball, Hamilton. That's much better. Thank you very much. Oh, you're off now. Okay, bye. Toothless, why have you got funny things sticking out the back of your head? These are my gills, and they are give me a big surface area to get oxygen out of the water. Oh, thank you. Is there anything else you'd like to tell us, Toothless? Food, please. Don't be silly, Toothless.
Okay, now a challenge for you. It would be great if you have a pet, have an animal in mind. It would be great if you could draw your pet, your animal, your example, just any one you want at all, and explain, try and choose something that I haven't used. So you could choose a giraffe, you could choose a shark, you could choose absolutely any animal in the world or an own pet. And two things. Number one, try and draw a sketch of that animal, and then try and label as many adaptations around it. So you might say, for example, the giraffe has a long neck to help it reach the leaves on the trees. Or you might say, for example, the cat has really sensitive whiskers so it can detect the size of a space to detect whether it can actually squeeze through the space or not, rather than getting stuck. You might need to look some of these up, and if you haven't got a pet or anything, don't worry, just like I say, choose any animal you're interested in. Second challenge if you're brave enough, record an interview with your animal and get the animal to explain how it's well adapted, and then instead of sending the photo of the work in, send the video recording instead, and then I'll mark that. Brilliant. I'm assuming you've done that now. This, again, typical warm environment creature. This is a jerboa called a desert rat. And why would it have ears that size? Well, it lives in the desert. Its biggest problem is it gets too hot. Having those massive ears simply allows it to lose loads and loads of heat from its body so it doesn't overheat. So it gives it that, again, massive surface area. Now, this animal is called a fennec fox, and as you can guess, it lives in the Arctic. Just look at the size of its ears. Look at the size of its legs and have a think about this shape. And this next animal is called a fennec fox, living in a much hotter environment in the deserts, etc. And now look at the size of this one's and the skinny legs and the longer body shape, and obviously the enormous ears for a large surface area. So what I want you to do is, you might have to go back a few seconds on the video, etc. What I want you to do is draw both foxes. Now, I don't want you to say, oh, I can't draw. So for example, if I'm trying to draw my fennec fox with its massive ears and its long thin legs and thin body, I could draw it like this. That's fine. And if I was trying to draw my Arctic fox, I'll be doing much smaller ears, a much smaller nose, and then I'll be doing stumpy legs that are short and fat, and a much shorter, stumpy, fat body. I'd be more than happy if your drawings were as good as mine. So pause, go back in the video to see the pictures if you want to, find your own images of them, trace it if you need to, and draw both foxes. Now what I want you to do after that is, for each of the foxes, if you label, for example here, I could write on there, very large ears. Go round both foxes, and for number 2 here, just label them. What are the features? So white skin, thick fur, short legs, etc, etc. Then change colour and go to a different colour pen, or if you haven't got it, just go for a pencil. And in your different colour pen, why does it have very large ears? And I'm going to write down, it's for a large surface area. Obviously I'm trying to do it on the screen, so it's not going to be as good or as neat as yours. And I'm going to write underneath that, it's got a large surface area and it wants to lose heat. So could you spend a few minutes now, like I say, draw both foxes, label them, and then annotate how that adaptation helps. Now, question number 3 here, you've already done. Choosing an animal, doing a quick sketch and explaining how it's adapted. I've already asked you to do that for your own animal at home or for any animal you chose. But questions 1 and 2, please, could you write the answers in your book? So just think about it. Question 2, for example, this is a mammal, so a warm-blooded creature, and it's a predator, so it's going to have predator features, and it lives in the open ocean. So I might say, for example, well, it's a predator, it's going to be eating other fish, it will need large, sharp teeth. Okay, that's one example. So try and think of your own when you're doing your answers. And then for the work you've done, the pictures, any videos, if you've been brave enough to make one, or silly enough like I am, please just send them in today.